At the World Cup today, it's win or go home for Team USA. Excitement building for the game that's standing between the young team of stars and the rest of the tournament.
I'm hoping for a 3-1 win.
The Americans getting in a final practice before their make-or-break game against Iran. The two countries not just rivals on the field, but on the real-world stage as well. That animosity spilling over at a pre-game press conference that got testy after earlier this week, the U.S. Soccer Federation briefly posted a graphic showing the Iranian flag without the Islamic Republic emblem. The American coach grilled by Iranian state media.
We're not focused on those outside things, and all we can do on our behalf is apologize on behalf of the players and the staff.
As pointed out there, the match between Iran and the United States happened yesterday on Tuesday, where US ended up on top 1-0 after all the tensions going on. But you saw some of those pre-match festivities and also some of the drama that was surrounding this match, which heightened the intensity so much more. Let's go to more of those back and forth that was happening. We saw the emblem that was taken off of the Iran flag for that, for the graphic of those matches, which angered a lot of folks there. So questions were being asked to coaches, to players, and all these other folks before it happened, because now we've got beef. Let's watch more.
Question is for you. My name is Mila Javamardi from Press TV. First of all, you say you support the Iranian people, but you're pronouncing our country's name wrong. Our country is named Iran, not Iran. Please, once and for all, let's get this clear. Second of all, are you okay to be representing a country that has so much discrimination against black people in its own borders?
My apologies on the mispronunciation of your country. Yeah, that being said, you know, there's discrimination everywhere you go. Is that in the U.S. we're continuing to make progress every single day. You know, growing up for me, I grew up in a white family with obviously an African American heritage and background as well. So I had a little bit of different cultures, and I was very easily able to assimilate in different cultures. And through education, I think it's super important. Like you just educated me now on the pronunciation of your country. So yeah, it's a process. I think as long as you see progress, that's the most important thing.
That 24-year-old player on the team also had to field these types of questions about the pronunciation of the country, which he was getting wrong. And also some of those human rights violations that we've got over here based off of the criticisms that we have of theirs. More details, because that exchange came after the Iranian state media on Sunday called for the US to be banned from competing in the international event over a now deleted social media post from the US national team in which that Islamic emblem on the Iranian flag was removed. The post was seen as the men's team offering support for protesters in the country who are demonstrating against the Iranian government. Of course, there's citizens that are in Iran that are protesting against it. We've been hearing about this, the women's rights issues, the folks that have been murdered, rounded up, and were devastated by. This apparently was one of those moves that was showing some solidarity. It looks like it got the wrong type of message across. Because look at this tweet from one particular person talking about the woman who started this whole thing because of how they killed her. An Iran football fan holds a shirt with the name of Mahsa Amini. The 22-year-old died days after being arrested and reportedly beaten by Iran's morality police. If only Mahsa had been born in the oppressive patriarchy known as the United States. Sometimes it's hard for us to look back on ourselves when other countries are seeing what's wrong with going on in America. Many of our citizens will protest, will point things out. That's where these divisions come from, and people want to talk about. We can't say this on international stage because other countries can't be saying bad things about America. Newsflash, they already do. It's just a matter of whether or not we're going to pay attention and then understand these human rights violations, whether or not we think are better or worse or similar or equal. Everybody has an opportunity to get much better. Conscious, before we go to some of the responses to that victory that the United States had, first your thoughts about this buildup, the energy around it. I didn't see the match. I've been missing the World Cup this particular round just because of how much drama, issues with Qatar, with them building this, putting this together, these human rights violations, all of this drama that's happening. I just haven't had the time to really get deep into the game.
Hey, I think that it's been a lot to unpackage. I would start this off by saying my grandfather always told me the pathway to hell was paved with good intentions. With that being said, I don't think that the reporter, the Iranian reporter, had a lot of malicious intentions, but I do feel like it was a little tasteless you know what I'm saying, to ask this Black American about all of the discrimination that America has in a very, I feel like, peculiar position where we have a global stage and you're kind of almost asking for this Black person to have a response for the way in which America is, discriminatory to this community. The second thing I think about is the ways in which us in America and out West kind of engage in Islamophobia when we think we're doing it with good intentions, i.e. taking the Arabic, you feel me, thing off of taking the Arabic, a language off of the flag. I see how that can be, Islamophobic, and how it can be also tasteless, you know what I'm saying, to people that's always talking about freedom of, freedom of religion. The last thing I would say is, when I was doing my little research about the Olympics, I learned this concept of war proxies. And I would almost make the argument that the way in which FIFA is set up, it's like war proxies. It's making it where we have these non-violent, competitive nation state thing to be able to prove that your state has the best resources, the best opportunity, and the best, access. And I think that that's what we are seeing right now. We're seeing like a little nationalistic beef, you feel me?
It's always the thing that I think props up the Olympics and things like the World Cup. Even things like, I think coming up also World Baseball Classic, where professional players represent their own countries. And it's an exciting event, but there's always those underlying things. It's almost like the fight that happens without the violence. And they say, we're better because look, we just won a match 1-0. What does that have to do with other things that happen actually in the country and the citizens and their reactions to it? It's always the question. As a matter of fact, let's jump down to SOC 3 here, you guys, because the president of the United States, of course, chimes in. It's always have to be the leader of the country to say, look, USA, look at the win. But again, what does this have to do with everything else that's happening? That's where I think a lot of the lines get blurred, but that's kind of what it is when it comes to fanfare and your representation of your country. Let's watch what Biden had to say.
USA, that's a big game, man. When I spoke to the coach and the players, I said, you can do this. They went, they did it. God love them. Anyway, just thought you might want to hear.
The excitement continues. There's also something else you point out, again, my last point on this. The way that it's a comparison of different countries and the successes of them, almost like a war. It's something I always kind of knew, but even the game of football, American football, not this version, it's a war game. It's moving up and down the field, getting to other teams' end zone and then scoring, and then you're fighting at the battle. They're meeting in the middle. It's a war game. It's simulation of war, but in a game that men are playing like children. But that's just the way it is. And that's what excites us. There's still this, we won. Even within the NFL, from the Bills to the Patriots, it's those two factions. It's like two different countries really trying to beat up on each other. And then we're superior to you. We're stronger than you. We're more determined than you. These things get determined. And I think sometimes we get fooled by those.